It was on a sunny summer Sunday afternoon, a few too many beers and a wonky attempt to eat a pizza. I got a phone call from my sister. Now, my sister I called Bougie. It was that phone call that realistically changed my life forever. I pick up the phone and I say, Bougie, Bougie. And she goes, Israel. I'm like, Bougie. And she goes, Israel, Dad's been found dead. Those words are words I'll never forget, and whilst that instantly broke my heart, I knew for me personally that it was really important of how I came back from a situation like that. It was important for me to implement what my dad had taught me growing up, and that was to work hard, whilst often there's nothing to work hard for. Now, I grew up in a humble home on the east coast of the North Island in a place called Gisborne. I'd like to think I'm the better looking of my 4 siblings, and my dad would like to think he's the better looking of his 9 as well. So as you can imagine, I've come from a big family, a family that I love, and a family that mean the absolute world to me. I got my first job at 12 years old. I was mowing the lawns at Gisborne Girls High School, so I wasn't really complaining. I got that job because my dad was a caretaker, and one of his workers had fallen ill, and Dad comes knocking on the door the next day and goes, come on, bud, we're off to work. You're getting complacent, you're sleeping in. So full of energy, all girls school, up and off I go. Really looking forward to it. So initially I wasn't complaining. I was driving around an all-girls school in a big green John Deere tractor, thinking I was the bee's knees. But things changed for me pretty quickly. Home life began throwing more challenges at me quicker than I could catch them. My dad's temper started changing and shortening significantly day by day. Now, I grew up chasing a footballing dream. To get up and be a professional footballer was all I ever wanted. And I knew if I wanted to do that, I had to get out of Gisborne. So that's what I did. And I made the best decision in my life at 16 years old to move up to Westlake Boys High School on the North Shore of Auckland. But it's the 3 cards that I've been dealt with from then till now, which I think have moulded me into who I am today and allow me to keep on keeping on. Card number 1, that's me and my dad. Card number 1 was losing my dad. I lost my dad to what I believe is one of our country's biggest epidemics, and that's suicide. Now, I'm not standing up here to try and get any sympathy or try and make it like I've lost my dad in a worse way that other people have lost theirs. But what I am standing up here to say is that New Zealand, we need to encourage each other to talk a lot more than what we already are. When I reconnected with my family 7 hours after getting that phone call, it was like a light bulb went off in my mind. Instantly. I knew that it was almost like I could hear my dad talking to me to continue to implement what he'd taught me growing up, which was a work ethic, and to continue to work hard when realistically there's not much to work hard towards. So I needed to stay focused, I needed to remain disciplined, and I needed to latch on to something that meant a lot to me, and that was football. It was always me and my dad's dream for me to play in the National League in New Zealand, and it was probably more of my dad's dream than it was mine. But that's all I could latch on to at the time. So I implemented my work rate, and 12 months later, I ended up getting a contract in the National League and giving that a go. Because I wanted to get fit, I wanted to get fast, I wanted to get strong. If you're close to me, you'll know that fast was never really an option. But I gave it a good go anyway. So despite significantly limited game time, I was really proud of what I did with football, and I know that my dad would have been as well. So that's my card number 1. This brings you on to card number 2. Card number 2 for me was my game changer, and in hindsight, realistically probably my best friend. A away game in Hamilton, just down the line from Auckland, had me going to tie my shoelaces, as you do. I'm in the back of the bus, and I sit back up, and I get this incredibly sharp pain come into my left rib cage. And I'm like, ooh, that's a pretty sharp asthma pain. So, and I'd struggled with asthma previously, but I didn't think it was going to be anything more so. But I was young, dumb, and I didn't think too much of it. So I went and played that game. Man, I'll tell you one thing right now, that game, that day, I experienced the most uncomfortable pain of my whole entire life. But again, I didn't think too much of it until later on that night. We won the game, so as you do, you go out with your friends. And I'd miraculously found myself at McDonald's at 3 a.m. in the morning with a big McChicken burger with a perfect amount of lettuce and a perfect amount of mayonnaise. Now, just before I could sink my teeth into it, I got the most excruciating pain coming from what it felt like the back left of my rib cage, and it was within a split second I knew something wasn't quite right. So fast forward 48 hours, I was walking into the doctor's to go and get from what I thought was an asthma checkup. And just as I was walking out after getting the all clear from my asthma, the doctor said to me, Izzy, what we'll do is we'll just quickly pull you back and we'll run an ECG just to make sure that everything's okay. Obviously, I'm 21 years old, so I'm thinking, look, nothing's going to be wrong here. But I'm like, all right, whatever, let's do an ECG. And fast forward 2 minutes from getting all wired up, that's me there on D-Day. So 2 minutes forward from that, I then got told that I'd had heart attacks and I had to be rushed to hospital immediately. I spent the week in hospital, and at the end of that 7 days, I was sitting there just being diagnosed with a heart disease, a form of cardiomyopathy. My heart was 27% larger than it should have been. The footballing dream was all but over. I had no hope of playing ever again, even if I wanted to. So I'd had 2 life-changing events, ones that I had no control of, which left me at a bit of a vulnerable stage. But then again, it was almost important for me, and I reminded myself pretty quickly how important it was to implement that hard work ethic and to remain disciplined and focused in anything I did. So now this brings me to card number 3. Card number 3 is my favourite card. It's not like card number 1. It's not like card number 2. Instead, card number 3 was for me to look at it and think about what I wanted it to look like. I incorporated Auckland Labour Hire 3 months after getting out of hospital. I'd like to consider Auckland Labour Hire as my firstborn child. I love it, unconditionally. I love waking up every day and helping it grow into a big positive beast, expressing only the best environment in the construction sector in New Zealand today. At school, I failed my NSA level 1, 2 and 3. I failed my UE, and when I could get into uni at 20, because the government let you in for free when you're 20, I thought I'd go and have a dabble, but ended up failing 40% of my papers there as well. So I was kind of sitting there a little bit lost, really. But then that led me to getting utterly consumed and completely committed to what Auckland Labour Hire could be. Now, I don't have a why. A lot of people talk about having a why, and that's great. If you've got a why, I think that's fantastic. But I don't necessarily have a why. But what I do have is I've got my dad's wedding ring. My dad's wedding ring allows me to believe or know that whatever I'm about to go through, what's coming up or near, I've probably been through tougher or thereabouts. It reminds me to be thankful for where I've come from, but more importantly to be blessed from the man that I was lucky enough to call my dad for 20 years. Now, I didn't have a choice when my dad killed himself. I didn't have a choice when my body gave up on me, but what I did have a choice was how I came back from it. So, thank you.